My name is Miss Welch and I teach junior and senior English. Well, growing up in Texas was hot, but it was good, and it was a different time. Obviously, it was the 70s, 80s, 90s, much different time than the world you're growing up in. I would say that the biggest difference between living there, maybe growing up there, and growing up here is the pace of life. It's a lot slower in Texas. People take time. It seems like people are very busy and in a hurry here. If you look at even people driving on a highway, it's very aggressive here, and I would say back home people just kind of take it easy, and they move at a slower pace, and I didn't really know that or realize it until I went home for the first time after moving up here, and was shocked by how slow everyone was moving, and I felt so impatient. But I think as I get older, I start appreciating slowing down and maybe taking more time to look at things and enjoy life than just rush, rush, rush. I went to several different colleges. My hometown had a community college, Trinity Valley Community College, and I started going to college the summer after my junior year. I took 2 or 3 courses between my junior and senior year and my senior year in high school and my freshman year in college. Then I went to Baylor in Waco, Texas. It's right in the middle of Texas, and if you watch that show Fixer Upper on, I think it's HGTV or whatever, that Chip and Joanna Gaines, they have their big store in Waco. That's really the only thing they're known for. But Baylor was great. It was a small school. There were about 10,000 undergrad students. I felt like the fact that it was small, my classes were a lot smaller than some of my friends who went to state schools. Like University of Texas was like an hour south, and there was like 60,000 kids, undergrads on campus, and that didn't include all the graduate students. But I liked the small atmosphere. It was a beautiful campus. I participated in a lot of different activities because it was a smaller campus. You had more opportunities to participate. And then halfway through Baylor, I stopped going to Baylor and went to a college called Westminster College in Oxford, England. And there I did all of my teaching classes, like the education classes. And I really loved it. That's where I decided I wanted to teach British literature. And I get to tour all over England and Europe and spend a lot of time, I think, just kind of being an individual, not with my parents always telling me what to do, and that was a really valuable experience. And then I came back, re-enrolled in Baylor, graduated from Baylor, and then went to grad school in Denver and got my counseling degree for Master's of Education and Counseling. And that was nice because it was about 10 years after I got my undergrad. I was such a better student because I was an adult. I was so much more responsible. It's so much easier to be a student when you are more cognitively developed than when you're a kid and you're so distracted. So grad school was a breeze because of that. Both my parents were teachers. My mom was my 6th grade math teacher. By the time I got into school, my dad was already an administrator. But like the year I was born, he was principal of the high school in my town. I had always just been in the world of education, and to be very honest with you, I really never knew I had another choice. So my sister was a teacher, became a teacher. She was a couple of years ahead of me in college. I just did what my parents did, and I did what my sister did, and I really liked it. So I was lucky that it was something that I mean, to this day, after all of these years, I enjoy it, and that's kind of. I mean, there was no like message from above. I really didn't know there was another profession. So back in my hometown, at one point we were all working for the school district there, and they called it the Welch family business. So my first 7 years, I went back to my high school that I graduated from to teach. I taught there for 7 years. I taught sophomore English and senior English, and I coached cheerleading. I was a cheerleader in middle school and high school, so I loved that. And then I moved to Colorado and taught there at the high school in Elizabeth, Colorado, which was like a bedroom community outside of Denver, for 2 years. And then I went back to Terrell, where I grew up, and taught 5th grade. I got the job over the phone. I decided to move home, and the school started a couple of weeks after I decided to move home, and so I got the job over the phone from a friend of my dad's. Taught 5th grade for a year. It was not for me. And then I moved here and couldn't find a job for the longest time. And but I've been here in Wilmington. This is my 15th year. So I've taught in Wilmington longer than I've taught anywhere. I mean, my accent wouldn't tell you that, but I've lived here longer than I have anywhere in my adult life. So this is the only place I've ever taught in Massachusetts. So. Well, there's not a lot of difference. I mean, kids are kids, students are students, educators are educators. There are way more similarities than differences, but I would say big wins are when I taught high school in Texas, sports were huge, especially football. So much was centered on football. There was a no pass, no play rule, and if you did not carry an average, passing was 70 in Texas, and it's 60 here. So if you made a D, it was actually failing, and you couldn't play sports. The quarters, we have quarters here. It was broken up into 6 weeks there, so it was 6 weeks instead of 4 quarters. We started mid-August, went to mid-May. We got out of mid to late May, never into June. It's too hot. And then in Colorado, it was pretty much the same thing. Different sports. Wrestling was really big in Colorado. Skiing was really big. Kids would miss school to go skiing, or skip school and go skiing. If a kid skips school, that's most likely where he was, is somewhere skiing or snowboarding. And I would say that here it's more academic focused than other places, sports, and I think it's just Wilmington in particular that it seems like in other schools, like in the town I live in, you pick a sport and that's kind of all you do. But it seems like here, a kid plays 3 or 4 different things. If they play anything, they're involved in everything. And I'm not sure why that is, but maybe it's the size of the school. But I would say that the biggest difference about Wilmington is that there don't seem to be as defined cliques as there were in Texas, and especially in Colorado. In Colorado, you had really defined cliques. Like you had the goth kids, you had the jocks, you had the theater kids. No one ever mingled. And in Texas, you would have like the cowboys and the the jocks and then the band kids, and they, because of the size of the town I taught in, they kind of hung out together. But here, I just don't see any cliques. Like, I feel like everybody kind of hangs out with everybody, and if there are cliques, it's not necessarily because of something as defined as what I saw at other schools. And I really love that. That's one of the things I like the most about teaching here. Massachusetts is beautiful to me. The seasons are something I didn't grow up with. I like that there's a very clear-cut fall, a very clear-cut winter. There's spring, there's summer, and that may sound really weird, but that's not how it is everywhere. Some parts of the country you have sort of 2 seasons, or everything, in the middle of winter you can have a summer day. And I like that. Because I just feel like that's a more natural way to live. It's just a cycle of life. You're ready for the next season. I think it helps me move on. I think it helps me let things go and let problems go, because it's a change of scenery, literally. I bought a house 10 or so years ago that I love, and when you buy your first house, you'll know how long it takes to find it, how you try to really find the right one for you. And once you find it, and if it's perfect for you, then you don't want to leave it. I live in a really great spot. My neighbors are my family. I'm very close to them, and even though I miss my family back home, they have become my family. The little kids in my neighborhood have become like my children or my nieces or nephews, and they're so close with my daughter, and you're just not going to find that everywhere, and it's definitely worth staying. My favorite book is called The Secret History. It's by Donna Tartt. It's huge, but it's a very weird story, but it's one of those books that has so much imagery that once you stop reading it and you put it down, you feel like you're still in the book, and you kind of feel foggy because you're like, whoa, what just happened? And I like that in a book. I like a book that can just take me out of reality, and because I think that that's the great thing about reading books and literature, is that you can escape into them, and you can go at your own pace. There are certain lines from the book that even now, if I read it, I'll put it down and think about it. Like, it's very thought-provoking. It's really the first time I learned about how beautiful New England was, like especially the fall, because it's set in New England, set in Vermont, and it's just the imagery for each season is spot on. Like, now that I read it living in New England, it's like she's describing what I see every day. So that's kind of cool. I like comedies. I cannot stand sad movie. I don't like to see something sad. If I have to go see a movie that I know is going to be really dramatic, I always ask people, like, who dies? I need to know who dies. If somebody dies, I don't like to get invested in the characters, but I like stupid comedy that makes me laugh. I remember the very first time I ever saw The Hangover. I saw it in the movie theater, and I actually saw it with Miss Daly, who teaches here, and I don't think I've ever embarrassed anybody more, but I couldn't stop laughing. I was crying. I was laughing where I made no sound. It was like I had cried for an hour. It was so funny, but I think that laughter is such a key component to life. I think that it's better than running. I think it's better than, eating your way through emotions. I think if you can laugh, that's the best therapy. And so I like to watch comedy, but it needs to be really good comedy. But I don't really have any interest in going to see a movie that's a downer. I mean, I know that I'll be smarter if I watch a lot of documentaries, but sometimes it's just too real, and I need to just laugh. I think the biggest change about education over the last 25 years is technology. It's been good and bad. I think there's so many things that I can do as a teacher better because of technology, but I think that especially you guys, you really have never known school without some sort of phone or electronic device or tablet. I think it's a shame that some kids don't or can't even look up in a class to pay attention what's going on. You're not present, and I think that's one of the biggest shames about technology, and the fact that when you let technology into education, even the good stuff, you have to take that really horrible aspect of it that kids just aren't present. They're somewhere else, and that is a real challenge to me, to try to teach a class of kids who are completely not even in the room with me. They're completely out of it. And I would say that at this point in my career, I feel like the pros of technology are outweighed by the cons. But that's the biggest change, because I think kids are kids. They're pretty much the same, but I've never seen a kid change as much, or I haven't seen the general student change as much as I have by using technology. I know you guys will laugh at this, but I think the people at WHS are the best. I mean, first off, everyone is so different. We're all coming from different places and different backgrounds, and we all have different personalities, but I really like the people that I work with. You'll see us standing out in the hall talking a lot. We enjoy each other. I think that the camaraderie here is really good. I also like the town. I think that as a town, Wilmington, they've done just about as much as they possibly can do. It's a town that really wants to keep up with the times and really wants to, they want what's best for their kids. I think that over the last 15 years that I've been here, a lot of families have seen like the first generation of kids go off to college. Like, they didn't go to college, and they wanted to make sure that their kids went to college. And I really admire that, that whole idea of wanting to know better for your kids.